live. Here we go. All right. Good morning, one and all. This is hopefully our last meeting about Reish Mem Zayin. Not because we're looking to run away from it, but getting to the point where we're just about done. Let's just remember now also where we were in terms of the Mishnah Berurah. We were, the last thing we had talked about last time was a machloket between the Ramah and the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah in Daled, Reish Mem Zayin Sif Daled. Let's just reread it in the Shulchan Aruch. I'm not going to reread every part of the Mishnah Berurah, but just to remind us what was going on here. If the non-Jew, we're talking about a letter here being sent. You have it there, Tommy? Reish Mem Zayin. First sheet, second side of the. Yeah, sorry, the copies came out very confusing. Yeah. So if a non-Jew, is happy to take the letter bechinam for free. Afilu nesanalo erev Shabbos, even if you give it to them on erev Shabbos, mutter, it's okay. Shahari ha'eno Yehudim me'elav hu osizeh. The non-Jew has decided to do this on their own accord. And the only reason that they are agreeing to do it is to do a favor for the Jew, Yisrael, because there was a favor clearly done in the past by the Jew towards the non-Jew. And it's like they are, they stipulated a price. It's but instead of money here, he feels he's paying back a favor. And therefore, it's not necessarily that he is doing this for free. He's really doing it to pay, and so therefore, it's like a fixed price, like putting a stamp on it and saying, "I'm going to pay you X amount for doing this job for me, for taking the letter for me," and therefore, the Shulchan Aruch says that it would be okay. That's what we explored last time. I think, even read all the relevant Mishnah Berurah comments. The Ramah argues or presents a differing viewpoints. Unclear how he paskins initially. Mishnah Berurah will talk about that, but in where it says Haggah there, the Yesh Cholkim, there are those who dispute this. Well, the halach read from the Shulchan Aruch, and that anyone who does this, if non-Jew agrees to do it bechinam for free, it's prohibited. V'tov lahachmir, and he says it's better to be machmir, better to be stringent here and not rely on an agreement that was for no payment. But look, if the non-Jew starts up with the Jew and says, "I see you have a package over there, and you need to be delivered. I'm taking it for you." They take the initiative to begin this whole process. Then it's clear that they are doing this. It's clear they're trying to pay back a favor that they had previously received. They're like, "Hey, look, you did something for me. I need to help you. I need to do something for you." So that if they start up some sort of conversation like that, where they clearly want to do this favor as a means to repay a favor done before, vishare, that should be permissible according to the Ramah. Even if you're being stringent, that kind of a situation, it's clear as daylight that this is being done as a repayment for some previous favor. So let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah and Tez Zayin. V'tov lahachmir. The Mishnah Berurah here says, the language of tov lahachmir. It's interesting language. What does that mean? It's good to be stringent. Do I have to be stringent? Is that the minhag to be stringent? What does tov lahachmir mean? So he says here that if you just are, inferring from the language of tov, okay, it's tov lochosh l'dei. It's nice to be concerned for this opinion. But what does that mean? And he says, Betaz also, sorry, let me just back up. What that means is that we don't really paskin like the second opinion, the yesh cholkin. Okay, if you want to follow that opinion, you want to go the extra mile, okay, great. And he says, which means that the ikar psak halacha is according to like the first opinion, that bechinam, when they are doing it bechinam, when there was clearly a favor done previously by the Jew, we don't have to start getting into why is he doing this. We can assume that it was being done for free because they want to repay the favor. And the Taz was one of the Nosei Kalim, one of the commentaries on the side of the Shulchan Aruch and a standard printing of the Shulchan Aruch. Paskins like the first opinion, not like the opinion cited by the Ramah. He continues here and he says, Darkei Moshe Siman Reish Nun Beis. Darkei Moshe was Rav Moshe Isserlis's previous work before he wrote the Mapa, the notes on the Shulchan Aruch. He wrote a work himself called the Darkei Moshe, which you can find in a unique standard copy of the Tur on the side of the page. You have the Beis Yosef, and then usually somewhere around the edges you'll have the Darkei Moshe. That was the precursor to what he wrote in the in the Ramah. To his comments that we call the Ramah in the Shulchan Aruch, the Mapa, and there he writes more extensively. Also, it's not as terse as some of the comments that you see here in the Shulchan Aruch. So there, in his Darkei Moshe in Reish Nun Beis, Mashma the Dato Hu Kishayesho. There it appears when he writes more extensively, it appears like he doesn't just say Tov L'Hachmir. It sounds like he paskins like the more stringent opinion. We have a Rishon. The Lavush was a Rishon, a little more obscure, but nonetheless from the period of the Rishonim. The Eliyah Rabbah is an Achron, and they paskin in this siman like the Yesh Cholkim opinion. The Kaim Alan b'Seif Aleph the Osir Lishloach Al Yado Kishein Kavua Beidoa. Oh, sorry, I skipped a line in my. Sorry. So therefore, it's best, since there's an argument about this, give some money. Don't do that even for free, even if they're insisting, that they want to help or they agree, whatever. Here, you give it over to them and you say, here, I'll give you a little bit of money for it. You do the job. Thank you. I know you're insisting to do it for free. Here, take a few bucks. That way, at least it's kotzatz for sure. And it's like kotzatz, Kevin Shakib Alav Shiyaz Lezes Charo, because fixed price. I gave you $10. I know you wanted to do it for $0, but here's $10. We'll call it a day. V'chein kosav v'chaye adam, and the Chaye Adam suggests this as well, that you should try to at least make some agreement on price. Don't rely on it being for free. What I would say, though, is that even the Ramah acknowledged that if the non-Jew is insisting and it starts up the conversation about this, it makes it very clear that they're trying to do this in repayment of a favor, that you have what to rely upon, because even according to that more machmir approach, the Ramah said that that if they start up, that's okay. That's okay. Again, I don't know how practical these situations are, but the principle is practically
well. Your friend, neighbor comes over, so you got somebody going, to White Plains. He says,
"I'll take it myself."
Let me take it. I'm going there anyway, whether I take it or not.
Right, and if they let's say that's Friday afternoon, right, and they're not going to deliver it until Saturday to the other person's house, it should be mutter. Yes. Okay, good. Let's go to Hay. Hay says in the Shulchan Aruch, Im ha'eno Yehudi holech me'atzmo lamakom acher Yisrael nosein lo igeres muter b'chol gavna. Non-Jew is already going from here to Chicago. It's already part of their plan. They're going. They have tickets, or I don't take whatever. They're going. They're planning to drive. And I hear that they're going to Chicago, and I have a letter that needs to go to Chicago. So it's okay if I give the igeres to the non-Jew who's going already. Mutter b'chol gavna. In all circumstances, it's permissible. So the Mishnah Berurah already limits this permissibility a little bit. Yud Zayin and the Mishnah Berurah. Holech me'atzmo. They're going on their own accord. Let's say they're going to Chicago. And now, if you ever travel on 80, 90, you pass through northern Ohio, and then you go through Indiana. So imagine there's a town on the way that so I'm from Columbus. So let's say they're going from New York to going to Chicago. Columbus is not the fastest way to drive through to get to Chicago. If they're going to add to their drive or to their route because of my letter, then the Mishnah Berurah limits that and says, according to Beis Yosef, that's also he's being marba bishvili. He is now, there are extra miles being driven because of me. If he's going to Chicago straight, and my letter is going to Chicago, and I don't have to make the longer trip because of me. So that's a different story. Okay, I kind of get that because at that point, then there is some element of they're going out of their way for me, which that extra out of the way is now problematic in the sense that if there is Shabbos involved in this situation and there's no fixed price, again, if you have a fixed price, if you have katsats, you're good. You're nothing to worry about. This is if it's low katsats and gamkein, there's no beidoar. There's no post office or postman who's going to take responsibility in a particular town. So again, work with me here in the sense that this isn't so practical in our day and age, but we are getting to the bottom of theory. So look at Yuches, Bechol Gavne. And now we're going to get to in this question in this next piece. In this question, just to remind everybody, was what happens when you want to Erev Shabbos put out your letter in your own personal post box, right, in your house, next to your house, outside your house, for the postman to pick up. Is that permissible or not? Because they're going to pick it up on Shabbos. I know they're going to pick it up on Shabbos. So let's keep that in mind as we read. That in theory, if the non-Jew is going to the town where my letter needs to go, they're not adding to their travels. Then even if there's low kotzats, even if we don't work on a price, they're just doing this, stam. They just tell me you take the letter, and they say, okay, yeah, I'm going anyways. Usually we said unless there's a postmaster there, you can't who's fixed in that town, who's always there, you can't send that letter to that town. Because what's going to happen? No one's going to be home. They're going to struggle to find the Jew, and they're going to be walking around on Shabbos, and you're going to be, do you know Chaim Yankala? And they're showing Chaim Yankala's letter, and they're, Chaim Yankala is not so frum. Look, he sends the non-Jew on Shabbos. Look, he maybe even wrote it on Shabbos. I don't know, maybe he wrote it on Shabbos even. So afilu hachi, but in this situation that we're talking about, sharin ankan. Which is funny. Why should it be mutter now suddenly? Because they were already going. Isn't this reason carry over? So he says here, kevan she'ein ha'eno yudi holech b'shlichuso. Since the non-Jew went for other reasons too on this journey. They had their own reason. They were dafka going for their own reason. Okay, I handed them a letter here. Can you take this with you? They have other things to do. They're not really my shaliach. They're going to take the letter and they'll put a minimal effort in if there's really a struggle to find this person. So they think here, it went for their own reasons. If they struggle to find the Jew, they're not going to go through such efforts like the other person whose only reason for going was to find the person to deliver the letter. Here, they're going to the family Thanksgiving, gathering for the weekend. If I struggle I'll deal with it when I'm, if I have time. But it's not enough of a concern that apparently in this situation, the rabbis were happy to permit such an arrangement. Okay, you can like it, you cannot like it. It's a little, you're really threading the needle here to get this hat there. Okay, v'davka yem yeshehus, but of course, what's the important here? V'davka yem yeshehus lagia sham ba'od yom. Of Of course, again, you have to, when you give them the letter, they need to be able to get there before Shabbos. If you're giving them something to do on your behalf, and it's going to have to be done on Shabbos, then we have a problem. We have a problem. It's not, you're having them do malachos, carrying, in the Rishus Harabim. That's a separate issue, and that's something you have to always be careful where you're putting them in that situation where they're going to be doing that. If you give it to them right before Shabbos, and they're going to go right on next day. So we don't like that. If they give it to them on Thursday, even though they're going to go on Thursday, on Saturday, that's okay, because at least you sort of gave them a shot. In theory, they could have gone early, and therefore it's okay. As we've talked about, that's what we've talked about in the past already. It's true, even though when the person is non-Jew is going, they're going for their own reasons. At the end of the day, they're carrying my letter, and that's for me. That letter part is for me. The rest of their baggage is them. Now here comes Hinda's question. Not explicitly, but I think we can extrapolate a little bit. To give it to them on Shabbos should be prohibited according to everybody, even if they're holech be'atzma, and they're going anyways. They're going from here to Chicago. No one was telling they were going to go anyways. They had a trip planned, and I thought, I hear on Shabbos, you're going? Can you take this for me? I didn't hand them any money. It's not like I made a deal. I'm just handing the letter. Stam. So he says it appears to him it should be prohibited. Even if you worked out a price, by the way, before Shabbos, said if I don't have my letter with me, I hear you're going tomorrow. Here, I'm going to give you $20 to deliver it. Tomorrow I'll come find you. So the business part of this is done, and I'm just coming to give you the letter. So he says that's not okay. Now, take a look here, though. Also litain igeres al halapatz b'Shabbos, and therefore it is prohibited to give a letter. And I'm still struggling, I'll be honest, with this phrase, al hapatz. Now, I know it probably means post, and in my translation underneath it says doar, which I assume what this means is to give it to the mail system, right? I don't know if that's how you read this, Hinda, right? Al Kain, he says also litain igeres al hapotz b'Shabbos.
Right, the mail system.
You sort of put the stamp on it, right? Let's just read the sentence so we can try to make sure we understand this correctly. Erev Shabbos mutter. If you do this on Erev Shabbos, it's okay. Al hapotz have a tamid katzatz. When you put the post on, you stamp it. That's a situation of katzatz. Or better yet. Fine. Even if, let's say, you're not the one paying it, it's the person to whom the letter is going to be arriving is going to pay, right? That the receiver will have to pay. At the end of the day, if you put some sort of post on it, someone's paying. I'm not exactly sure the case in the situation, where you put something on, or you give it to the post office, and then. I guess we have that today, right? When you return something to, actually we do this today. Yeah, I get a return label sometimes, and then the seller has, when I return, the seller pays the postage. So I guess there is a case like that today.
Or you have an envelope that's metered at your office. It's your envelope, but you're allowed to use the meter for personal use.
You're allowed to use the meter for personal use.
So it's not you paying, it's not the receiver paying, it's your office paying. But it's paid.
It's paid.
It's paid, right. So if you do that Erev Shabbos, of course it's fine.
So what he's saying is you can't put it out on Shabbos, but on Friday you can put it up. When he picks it up, it's up to them. It's already in the system.
Right. So take a look at this. Yeah. So I feel a makom sheyesh eruv. So even if they're, so he again, take the brackets out for a second. He's saying it's usher to give a letter to the post on Shabbos, to the post on Shabbos, even if there's an eruv there. Because what would be the concern if the letter carrier takes the letter on my behalf and there's no eruv in the town? Now they're carrying my letter when I couldn't have carried it. So that's problematic because there's no eruv. So here he was saying that even if there's an eruv to give it to the post on, to give it to the post office on Shabbos, basically, we don't like that. Where am I here? I lost my spot. And even if you tell a non-Jew, can you take it to the post office on Shabbos and handle it for him? Al Shabbos kufa. And it doesn't help to do ketzitza to sort of fix a price on Shabbos itself. I guess you would work it out with the non-Jew, what it is that they should pay to the post office. They're your shaliach basically to the post office. He says that he doesn't like that because my gut tells me here what the issue is that you're sort of not doing business, but you're making the arrangement which involves money on Shabbos here. Even if it's you paying or the one who's going to receive is going to, you're handing this letter into the postal system. And so we don't love the idea of sort of working that out on Shabbos. But he says here, let's say you're talking about a great financial loss. Something is going to go very wrong with your business if you don't get this out right now. In such a case, it's mutter. When there's great financial loss, because we have a double derabanan. Number one, well, derabanan number two is easy. That's the aliyah de eno Yehudi. You're asking a non-Jew to do it. What's problem number one? Problem number one, I believe, is again some sort of masa umatan problem. That's how I'm reading it. Some sort of business engagement, or you're engaging in something that's like a transaction, right? That's what's happening here, right? You're litain al hapotz b'Shabbos. You're giving it to them, which means that somebody's getting paid, whether it's you're paying or the receiver is paying. Someone's paying, and so you're entering this into the system on Shabbos. That's my read on this one. And so you have a double derabanan here because I'm not the one doing it directly, but the non-Jew is doing it. So it's a derabanan on a derabanan. So b'mokom seda, when there's a great financial loss, we'll see that as we go through more Hilchot Shabbat, a double derabanan, b'mokom hefsed, b'mokom mitzvah is going to be permitted. So when you're able to have a rabbinic thing that, something that's rabbinically prohibited, on top of that, having a non-Jew do it will oftentimes be allowed in certain circumstances. And so, lost my spot here. Okay, the mutter. So that's permissible. The shalom makom hefsed. If there's no great financial loss here, yesh lahachmir, one should be stringent on filu be'erev Shabbos. Even on erev Shabbos, he says here. That you shouldn't give the non-Jew the letter erev Shabbos and here, take it to the post office tomorrow, do sort of business on my behalf tomorrow. Even if you'll stipulate a price and you work out a price with the non-Jew, what he's going to do. So you have somebody who's doing it for you, and you say it's kotzatz, shahare miyachen malachto ala Shabbos, because I'm telling him to do a malacha on Shabbos, to get involved in business on Shabbos. And that we don't love. We don't love doing business on Shabbos. Again, it's an issa d'Rabbanan. I know that may be surprising to sometimes hear that engaging in just financial transactions is not a d'oraisa, it's a d'Rabbanan. But so we try to avoid that, even having that set up from erev Shabbos into Shabbos, because just in general, by the way, Aruch HaShulchan mentions this very explicitly that. He says here, "V'zeu hakol be'erev Shabbos aval b'Shabbos asur b'chol inyan limsor afilu michtav ha'aruch me'esmo lahabei doar." You can't set up a situation where you give over your letter the day before to, I guess, the non-Jew, and who's going to take it to the post office. So you can't take it on Shabbos, even if the letter was written before Shabbos, and even if you have a non-Jew set up for before Shabbos to take it on Shabbos. It's an Isser Gomor who he writes. The Amira Le'eno Yehudi Shvus, because that's an Isser D'Rabbanan to tell a non-Jew to do something. Afilu Amar Lo Be'erev Shabbos Shiyasa B'Shabbos. You can still violate Amir L'Nochri if you tell a non-Jew Erev Shabbos to do something on Shabbos. That doesn't help. That's not a workaround. And I know sometimes that there's a perception that if you tell the non-Jew before Shabbos that you're clear and free and clear, it's not true. That is a misconception. That if you tell them to do it Erev Shabbos on Shabbos, that is also an Isser of Amir L'Nochri. By the way, he says he says, I saw there was somebody who allowed this b'makom hefsei gadol. Who is he referring to? It's the Mishnah Berurah. If you have your citation, which obviously tells you that certain parts of the Mishnah Berurah, the Aruch HaShulchan already had in his hand, and he said, there's somebody who said that it's okay, and there's a big loss. He takes him to task. He thinks he's wrong. He should never be allowed. And he says, he says, I don't agree. He says, there's another problem here. He says, your letter, if it's in your possession, it's kana shvisa with you. Remember, we talk about your kalim can't go out of the tchum on Shabbos. Without, if you can't tell that your kalim to be walked out of the tchum on Shabbos, if it was started the Shabbos with you in your possession. See, the letter was in your possession. What are they going to do with the letter? I don't know if this is actually the case though. By the time that the Shabbos is over, I'm not sure that they will have taken the letter outside the city. But bottom line is he's trying to say that they're going to take this letter chutz l'tchum. Unless the post office only does these things at night, which I believe today, if you drop the letter in the post box, even if let's say it was the one outside the post office, so they're picking it up more frequently, I don't think that letter is traveling outside of Scarsdale until the evening. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they take things during the day even. I don't know.
Yeah, but if on Friday afternoon you put something into the mailbox,
Right.
and they pick it up after Shabbos came in,
Right.
they'll process it that night. They will be out of
It'll be out of the tchum. Right. But see, at least there before Shabbos, according to Aruch HaShulchan's problem, it wasn't kona shvisa. Once I drop the letter in the box, it's not my property anymore. In some sense, it's my letter. I wrote it, but really, I have nothing to do with this thing anymore. It's now going to my friend or to whoever. So, in terms of the kona shvisa, that like this is my kli when Shabbos started, this is my property when Shabbos started. It's not the case. So here, the problem is if you actually drop it into the letter, into the post box when it's Shabbos, and will it leave Scarsdale? It could happen nowadays, because Shabbos starts at 4 something. If I go Friday night at 5, 6 o'clock to the letter box and I drop it in, they're going to pick it up and the next morning maybe, and I don't know, maybe the process is quick enough. I don't know. So I'm not sure how this translates over. He doesn't like this heter because he thinks that there's another problem that's sort of taking place in the background. So now what do we do with Hinda's question though? So Tommy wanted to say that it should be mutter, Hinda's question, which is that if you put the letter outside on Shabbos, on Erev Shabbos, and they're going to pick it up on Shabbos, it should be permissible.
Right. It's the same as the mailbox.
Good. So I asked, correct, there should be no difference between that and the mailbox. So I asked Rabbi Weeder this question, and he wrote back to me the following. He goes, I'll just read you the question that I wrote him. I wrote this question. I said, in my weekly halacha shir, studying the siman, the question came up about whether you can leave a letter on Erev Shabbos in your personal mailbox for the mail carrier to pick up on Shabbos. Would this be permissible? So so he wrote back to me. I think that is fine if done on Erev Shabbos, even though the letter carrier picks it up on Shabbos. This is technically This is technically Erev Shabbos. I guess something got mixed, jumbled with the letters here. Your mailbox, if it conforms to regulations and is installed, is federal property. Didn't know that, by the way. If your mailbox, if conforming to regulations and is installed, apparently is federal property. I don't know. You tell me if that's right or wrong. I have no idea. You don't think so?
No,
No,
definitely not.
Meaning
I-
inside the box?
No, no. He's
Okay.
thinking of a mailbox that's standing on the street, which is, but on your property, no, because I can change my mailbox anytime I want. I can do whatever I want with it.
right.
So it's not federal property, it's mine.
Uh-huh. Okay, all right. That aside, I don't think that'll affect this. I don't think that will affect this, but let's see. And he says, and it's cuts dummin. Remember, we put a stamp on it, right? So it's paid, and and you're not asking this letter carrier to do anything on Shabbos per se. He says you wouldn't care if he came Motzai Shabbos or Sunday morning, and in a case where there is an Eruv, including the post office, which we have here in Scarsdale, where our post office is inside our Eruv. If there is no Eruv, then it's a problem, because then they're carrying your letter, and you kind of set that up. It's true that you said you wouldn't care if they didn't come on Sunday, but it'll be a little murkier. So it's not even clear, he writes here, if he's doing anything more than collecting it and bringing it to the post office, something that he's like, maybe, so something that you in theory could do yourself. You could carry your own letter. The question is, can you then put it into the post box there? That's the only question. And you can carry around your letter because there's an Eruv. So the only time it might be problematic would be if it is time sensitive, as we talked about. But that kind of mail is usually done at the post office. Usually, if it's time sensitive, usually you don't put it like at your own mailbox. If it's like a rush, you usually would take it somewhere to get in the postal system quickly. So usually when you put it out there, you don't care if it takes a day or two longer. If you just kind of let it where you kind of put it outside your door. So he thought it should be mutter. Based on what we read, I think it should be mutter. If you're, again, the thing that's problematic is to put it into the mail system on Shabbos. So if you're putting the letter on Shabbos, I think into the box, outside, that's a little more problematic, because that's you engaging with the mail system, actively engaging with the mail system on Shabbos, and it's kilu like a trend. Again, it's not actually a transaction, but you're putting things into the postal system. So I would say if you do it Erev Shabbos, it should be fine. It should be completely fine. Okay. So there you go. Some practical takeaway from this simon. Okay, next. Let's try to finish this up. I think we're right about there. Vav, Mishi yesh lo sacher eino Yehudi. Or on the Shulchan Aruch back up on top. Lishana o Yosef. You have a non-Jewish worker who is hired for the year. You paid them for the year. They're an annual. They're a salaried employee for the year, or it could be longer than a year. Also, l'shalcho Erev Shabbos b'igeres. You cannot send that non-Jew on Erev Shabbos with a letter. So what do you mean? I pay the non-Jew. He's my salaried employee, and I thought we talked about it. If you cut sats, you make a price with somebody, you fix a price, and they do the work on your behalf. So why is the problem? Take a look at the Mishnah Berurah Yud Tes. The asur l'shalcho, you can't send this. The shehu schiro l'shana lo nechshav kekitzitza. The fact that they are paid, there's this annual salary that they're paid. That's not ketzitza. I mean, they get a fixed salary for the year. Whether they do this, they deliver 100 letters or 5 letters or whatever, And so he says, katzatz is like when I fix a price for a job and I pay you for the service. Not that you're an employee and then I can ask you to do 10 other things too. That's not ketzitza. V'dino b'chol ha'pratim k'mavor le'el b'sif aleph below katzatz. And so therefore, since it's not ketzitza, all the laws about how you treat this situation go back to, it's like a situation of low katzatz, as we talked about in sif aleph. And it depends, is there a beidoar, that's kavua in the place where you're going? All those halachas would apply. Here we say it's only asur on Erev Shabbos. V'atam kemoshe be'arna be'er halacha. And the reason is explained in the be'er halacha. What does the be'er halacha say? If you like, take a look over the be'er halacha right next to the Mishnah Berurah. Uleshana v'chule. Hatam, he says, why is this asur? The af shu kotzeis lo scharo avur kol hashana. Mikol makom lo chashvinan zeh kekatzatz. Yes, it's true that they fixed a price for the entire year with this person. It's like, oh, come on, like I paying him an annual salary. It's not like katzatz. The ikar tama the ktsitza mahani mishum the ena yisrael nafka mina mizeh. The reason that ktsitza works is because there's no nafka mina. They take it on Shabbos, they take it on Sunday. I don't care. I pay you for the job. But here, he says, "Din lo yaseh b'yom zeh yaseh." Sorry, that's what we want. You can do it today, do it tomorrow. But I know who did. I did an afshe abed lemahir hashla hashli malachto. If they do, they do it quickly. That's because the non-Jew wanted to get the job done and get paid. Aval be'inyan zeh. But if somebody who works for you and does all sorts of different jobs for you, it's almost like you're telling them you have to do it tomorrow. Because why? They work for you, so they have to do other things too. And so and what happens now when he feels like I gotta get this done because boss is gonna give me the next thing to do. I benefited from something that they did on Shabbos, and they were like my shaliach. Ulfiza, and that's why he says the mechaber doesn't like this, etc., etc. But again, they are not. I think the Aruch HaShulchan put it even better, honestly. I don't know if you have his words here in front of me, but he basically says look, if they don't take the if they take the letter now, or if they don't take the letter now, right? Then I have a worker who's tied up, with other things, and so when they are able to take a letter on Shabbos, their being free on Sunday is my benefit. Meaning I'm really benefiting from the fact that they went on Shabbos. That's really shlichus, and for their sake as well as the worker. They want to be able to do a good job as my employee, so they want to get it done right away, so they can do other things on my behalf. It's not like katzatz where even though I don't care if the letter goes out, but the fact is for them it's a big deal because they want to be able to have the freedom to do the next job for me when I ask them for the next task. So to do that on Erev Shabbos, he doesn't like it. The Shulchan Aruch doesn't like it. So let's take a look now at the Ramah. Finish this up. However, if you're only the only task that this worker does, who's my salaried employee, is to deliver my letters, that's their only task, is the letter delivery. Yesh matirin, there are those that permit this kind of arrangement on Erev Shabbos where I give them the letter. Kemotion isbar la'el, the simulation in Mem Daled Sifhei, as we've explained in earlier simonim about when you have one worker for one task, or a salaried employee for one task, that should be okay. I take a look at the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Katan Chaf, Kemotion isbar la'el, Hainu de Arishon Sham, the Sfira Le, the Zehu Nechshav Kikotzatz. If they're a salary employee for one job, that's like katzatz, because the fact that I didn't take the letter on Shabbos, take it on Sunday, well, it just means it's about, okay, the master knows, the employee knows, the employer knows, okay, their job is letter carrier. That meaning they're not like, oh, I'm gonna have to be free to do another thing. I'm not free to do something different. So there, it's okay because there's one task involved. If you take a look over there, I don't think if you have it. I don't know if you have it in your sheets there anymore. But if you look in Sif Hey, this says in Sachar Enu Yehuda Lishano Lishtayim Sheyichtov Lo Sheyerag Lo Beged Harei Kosef Oreg Shabbos Ki'ilu Katzatz Imo Sheyichtov Lo Sefer. It's like I have paid them for the job, for one task, because they can do it whenever they want, unless I'm literally telling them that you have to always. There's like so much mail that you have to take for me, where you just have to always be going and going and going, then they don't always have to do it on Shabbos. And they're not going to be, and the fact that they're not available on Sunday because they're busy taking that letter from Saturdays doesn't bother me because I'm not sending out mail all the time. So then it will be okay. Mikol Mokel means this finishes up back in our Mishnah Berurah here. Shabbos. Of course, I can't tell them to go explicitly on Shabbos. That's the ABCs of this whole topic of Amir L'Nachar. You can never tell them to actually do it on Shabbos. Kaniskar La'el, the Sif Aleph, as we mentioned, it's Sif Aleph before. Okay, we'll stop here. We finished Reish Mem Zayin. Okay, so Hadron Alach Reish Mem Zayin, and we'll move on to Reish Mem Ches next week, when we will discuss the halacha of this is practical. This siman I have applied at least a few times to other people who have asked me a shaila in a very desperate situation on Erev Shabbos. What about traveling on Erev Shabbos? What happens when you get stuck in traffic in New York City and you can't get home in time before Shkia? What do? How do you handle that situation? There's actually real svara to how do you deal with it. I once helped somebody get home in a halachically permissible way. It was after Shkia already. I wish them a good luck before Shkia, but you have a little bit more time if you're able to get a non-Jew involved. But this is not theoretical. This can practically happen, and talks about the halachos really in those days of going on a boat trip a few days before Shabbos, when you might still be on the boat on Shabbos. Now, there's nothing per se wrong with being on a boat for Shabbos, which we'll talk about, but there are challenges on getting off the boat on Shabbos. So we'll talk about boat travel, but this will be relevant to talking about what happens when you get stuck in the car on Erev Shabbos, or you're on an airplane. Something happens to your flight on Erev Shabbos, and they're circling, and then by the time they land, it's already Shabbos, or something like that. What do? Obviously you can't control the plane. That's beyond your control at any point. But can you get on a plane? If it's going to land only 15 minutes before Shabbos. Are you allowed to get on such an flight? So we'll talk about travel in the days leading up to Shabbos, and in particular, we'll have a focus on Erev Shabbos itself. So that'll take us probably a good number of weeks, but it's an interesting, fascinating topic. All right. Have a good day, and looking forward to next time.